The orbital summit between Earth's leaders and the Galactic Federation delegation took place aboard the Ascendant Star, a shining masterpiece of alien engineering hovering above Earth. To humanity, the event was historic, a chance to leave their terrestrial struggles behind and embrace a future among the stars. For Commander Elias Ward, however, it was a moment of unease. Ward paced the viewing deck, the Earth's blue curvature below filling the massive windows. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. "Relax, Commander," said Ambassador Helena Trask, humanity's chief diplomat, her voice tinged with exasperation. "This is a moment of triumph. You'll give yourself an ulcer." Ward stopped pacing and turned to her, his sharp gaze betraying years of military discipline. "Triumph? We've barely scratched the surface of what these so-called benefits entail. They're offering us a golden ticket without showing us the small print." Helena sighed, her polished demeanor a sharp contrast to Ward's blunt pragmatism. "Not every situation requires suspicion. You see enemies in every shadow. And you're content to trust every smiling face," Ward countered. The arrival of the Federation delegation interrupted their argument. The doors to the chamber slid open with a low hiss, and in walked three figures. High Arbiter Solanus, a towering, willowy alien with shimmering, translucent skin. Envoy Krektal, a short, stout reptilian with an array of blinking optical implants. And their human translator, a young man named Victor Hale, wearing the Federation's emblem like a badge of honor. "Ambassador Trask," Solanus began in a voice both melodic and commanding, "and esteemed representatives of Earth, we welcome you to this monumental occasion. The Federation extends its hand of unity to your people. Together, we will chart a brighter future for all civilizations." Helena stepped forward, her diplomatic instincts kicking in. "High Arbiter Solanus, the people of Earth are honored to receive this invitation. We stand ready to contribute our knowledge, culture, and innovation to the galactic community." Ward stayed at the back, watching silently. Solanus's alien smile, if it could be called that, struck him as more calculated than welcoming. As the ceremonial speeches concluded, the delegation moved to a private chamber for negotiations. Ward leaned against the wall, arms crossed, while Helena took the lead. "Our proposal," Krektal began, sliding a holographic document across the table, "outlines the terms of your integration, access to advanced technology, trade routes, and protection under Federation law. In return, we require a modest tribute of resources and adherence to our established regulations." Ward leaned in, scanning the document. "Tribute? Sounds like a euphemism for taxation. And these regulations, do they include disarming our military?" Krektal's cybernetic eyes blinked in rapid succession. "A precautionary measure. The Federation ensures peace by limiting individual planetary militaries. Trust us, Commander Ward. Our fleet is more than sufficient to protect Earth." "That fleet killed half the inhabitants of Rhino 7 when they protested your policies," Ward snapped. Helena shot him a warning glance. "Commander, please." Solanus's calm voice cut through the tension. "Rhino 7 refused the responsibilities of membership. Earth is different. You are promising. Unique." "Unique how?" Ward asked, his tone sharp. "You've survived so much," Solanus said, his translucent features glowing faintly. "War, environmental collapse, internal strife, yet you persist. It is a quality the Federation admires greatly." "Admires," Ward repeated, skepticism thick in his voice. "Or fears." Solanus tilted his head, his smile widening slightly. We do not fear what we understand, Commander. Perhaps you should do the same. After the delegation departed, Helena turned to Ward. You're going to sabotage this before it even begins. I am trying to protect us, Ambassador, Ward said, his voice low but firm. Did you see the terms? Disarming our military would leave us completely dependent on them. And that tribute? It's a polite way of saying they'll strip Earth of its resources. Helena sighed. You see chains where there are bridges. We need this, Elias. Humanity is fractured. If we're ever going to thrive beyond Earth, we need the Federation. And what happens when their protection becomes control? When we lose the right to govern ourselves? Helena hesitated, torn between her idealism and the weight of his words. I don't know, she admitted. But I know we can't stand alone in this galaxy. Ward turned back to the window, the Earth glowing like a fragile jewel. Maybe not, but if we're going to join them, we need guarantees, sovereignty, autonomy. That's not how this works, Helena said. You can't dictate terms to the galaxy. Then maybe we shouldn't join at all. The silence between them was heavy, the weight of the decision looming over both of them. The invitation was humanity's chance to ascend, or to lose everything. As the ascendant star prepared to leave orbit, Ward stood alone in the viewing chamber, watching the Federation ships move into formation. His comm device buzzed, and he answered. Commander, came a voice from Earth's intelligence network. We've intercepted a transmission from the Federation. You need to see this. Ward's blood ran cold as the transmission played. It was a conversation between Krektal and Solanas. Will they comply? Krektal asked. They always do, Solanas replied. Humans are predictable. They'll hand over everything, eventually. Ward clenched his fists. This was no alliance. It was a takeover, and humanity was walking straight into it. Commander Elias Ward's boots echoed down the steel halls of Earth's Orbital Defense Command, EODC. The tension from the summit lingered in his chest, a gnawing reminder that humanity was teetering on the edge of something far greater than it understood. He carried the intercepted transmission in a secure datapad tucked under his arm, its contents too damning to ignore. When Ward entered the EODC command room, the familiar hum of advanced systems greeted him. The room buzzed with activity, holographic displays projecting planetary defense grids and ship movements. At the center of it all stood General Marissa Kale, a veteran strategist whose icy demeanor often clashed with Ward's fiery resolve. Commander Ward, Kale greeted without looking up, her sharp eyes fixed on a glowing map of Earth's orbital perimeter. I heard about the summit. I assume you're not here with good news? Ward placed the datapad on the table. Depends on how you define good. The Federation's invitation wasn't about partnership. It's about subjugation. They're planning to strip Earth of resources and force us to disarm. Kyle raised an eyebrow, picking up the pad and scanning the intercepted transmission. Her jaw tightened. Damn it! I told the Council this was too good to be true! It gets worse, Ward said. They've already started setting terms. Helena just received the official contract. The tribute they're demanding isn't just raw materials. It's access to our water reserves and our most promising scientific research. They're bleeding us dry before we even sign. Kyle sighed, rubbing her temples. And the Council? What's their stance? Helena's trying to spin this as an opportunity, Ward said bitterly. She thinks we can negotiate better terms. Kale slammed the datapad onto the table. Negotiation? With an empire that wiped out Rhino 7th for protesting? That's not diplomacy. It's suicide. As they spoke, A young officer approached, hesitating by the edge of the room. Commander Ward, General Kale, sorry to interrupt, but we've just picked up a Federation cruiser entering our sector. It's holding position near Luna Base. Ward's brow furrowed. Luna Base isn't operational yet. Why would they... He trailed off, his mind racing. They're sending a message, Kyle said grimly. A reminder of their power. What's their official reason for being here? The officer shifted uncomfortably. They claim it's a routine patrol. Routine, my ass, Ward muttered. He turned to Kale. We need to push back. If we let them hover over our backyard, they'll see it as weakness. Kyle hesitated. And risk an escalation before we're ready? We don't even know what their full fleet looks like. Better to draw a line now than let them dictate terms later, Ward argued. If we don't act, they'll think they own us. Kyle stared at him for a long moment before nodding. Fine, but this has to be handled delicately. No direct confrontation. Ward smirked. Delicacy isn't exactly my strong suit. Kyle rolled her eyes. I've noticed. Ward boarded the Aegis, Earth's most advanced destroyer, and led a small fleet to Luna Base. The Federation cruiser loomed in the distance, its sleek silver hull a stark contrast to the rugged designs of Earth's ships. Open a channel, Ward ordered, standing on the bridge. The screen flickered to life, revealing Krektal's familiar, reptilian face. Commander Ward, Krektal said smoothly. To what do I owe the pleasure? Ward didn't bother with pleasantries. You're trespassing in Earth's territory. State your business or leave. Krektal's cybernetic eyes blinked in an unsettling rhythm. Routine patrol. As I've already informed your people, there's no need for hostility. Patrol somewhere else, Ward said coldly. This is a restricted zone. Krektal's smile widened, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Commander, you seem to misunderstand your position. The Federation's presence here is a courtesy. We are assessing Earth's readiness for integration. Ward clenched his fists. Integration doesn't mean occupation. Occupation? Krektal repeated, feigning offense. Such a harsh word. I assure you the Federation only wishes to ensure your people's safety and prosperity. Save the propaganda, Ward snapped. You have 1 hour to leave this sector, or we'll consider your presence an act of aggression. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Kyle's voice came through Ward's comm. Elias, what the hell are you doing? If they call your bluff, we're not equipped for a fight. It's not a bluff, Ward replied. If we let them stay, they'll walk all over us. We have to show them we're not afraid to stand up for ourselves. And if they retaliate? Kyle asked. Ward glanced out the viewport, the Federation cruiser gleaming ominously in the distance. Then we show them what happens when they underestimate humanity. Kyle sighed. You better hope to hell you're right. As the countdown ticked closer to 0, Ward braced himself for what would come next. Would the Federation back down, or would this be the spark that ignited a war humanity wasn't ready to fight? The Aegis's weapon systems powered up, casting an eerie red glow across the bridge. Ward stared at the Federation cruiser, his resolve hardening. Whatever happened, he would protect Earth, no matter the cost. The silence in space was deafening. From the bridge of the Aegis, Commander Elias Ward stared at the Federation cruiser parked near Luna Base. The countdown to their ultimatum ticked closer to 0, and his crew waited in tense anticipation. Would the Federation retreat, or would this be the moment humanity was plunged into an unwinnable war? Status report, Ward barked, breaking the tension. Lieutenant Alex Cole, his tactical officer, replied, "Weapons systems primed. Shields are at full capacity. The Federation ship hasn't moved. Yet. 30 seconds to their deadline," said Communications Officer Sarah Quinn, her voice tight. Ward glanced at the holo display, which projected the cruiser in vivid detail. Its sleek, curved hull looked harmless, almost elegant, but Ward knew it was armed with weaponry far beyond Earth's understanding. The Aegis, for all its advancements, was outclassed. "They're testing us," Ward said to himself, then louder. "They think we'll fold. Let's make sure they know we won't." Cale's voice came through his comm. "Ward, I swear, if this turns into a firefight, you're answering to me." "Noted, General," Ward replied. "But I'm not letting them establish a foothold here." As the countdown hit 0, Quinn's console beeped. "Incoming transmission from the cruiser." "Put it through," Ward ordered. Krektal's image flickered onto the screen, his reptilian face unreadable. "Commander Ward, your bravado is entertaining, but misplaced. We remain where we are under Federation authority." "Then you've chosen to escalate," Ward said, his voice like steel. "Lieutenant Cole, target their forward weapons array." Krektal's eyes narrowed. "Surely you're not foolish enough to fire on a Federation vessel. Such an act would—" Before he could finish, the Aegis unleashed a precision volley of kinetic rounds. The projectiles streaked across the void, slamming into the cruiser's forward weapons pod. Sparks erupted as the pod shattered, its systems disabled, but the ship otherwise intact. "Consider that a warning," Ward said. "You're not invincible." Krektal's expression darkened. "You've made a grave mistake, Commander." The transmission cut off. Moments later, alarms blared across the Aegis. "Commander, the cruiser's powering up its main cannon!" Cole shouted. "Evasive maneuvers!" Ward ordered. The Aegis banked hard to starboard as a searing beam of energy lanced toward it, missing by mere meters. The heat from the blast rattled the ship's shields. "They're not pulling punches," Quinn said, her voice laced with fear. "Good," Ward replied. "Neither are we. Return fire. Target their engines." The Aegis launched a barrage of missiles. The Federation cruiser's advanced defenses shot down most, but one slipped through, detonating near its aft thrusters. The cruiser's engines flickered and dimmed, leaving it dead in space. "Direct hit," Cole reported. "They're crippled." Ward leaned forward, adrenaline surging. "Prepare a boarding party. We're taking that ship." Kyle's voice crackled through the comm again, livid. "Ward, what the hell are you doing? You've crossed every line!" "If we capture that ship, we get leverage," Ward snapped. "The Federation needs to know we're not their playthings." Kale's response was cut off as Ward switched frequencies. "Security teams, suit up. We move in 5. The Aegis docked with the damaged cruiser, and Ward led the boarding team himself. The halls of the Federation ship were eerily silent, its sleek design alien and unnerving. "Stay sharp," Ward said, gripping his pulse rifle. As they moved deeper into the ship, Krektal's voice echoed through the intercom. "Humans are so predictable. You think brute force will win this war?" "Shut it," Ward muttered, scanning for hostiles. Suddenly, a hidden panel slid open, and robotic drones swarmed out, their energy weapons glowing. "Ambush!" Cole shouted. The team dove for cover as the drones opened fire. The corridor lit up with bursts of energy and return fire from Ward's team. Ward rolled to the side, taking aim and disabling a drone with a precise shot. "We're outgunned here!" Quinn shouted. "Not for long," Ward replied, tossing an EMP grenade. The device detonated, sending out a pulse that fried the drone's systems. The team pressed on, reaching the cruiser's command center. They found Krektal waiting, his cybernetic implants glowing ominously. "You think you've won?" Krektal sneered. "This is but a fraction of the Federation's power." Ward leveled his rifle at the alien. "Surrender your ship and your data cores. Now." Krektal's laughter filled the room. "You've just doomed yourselves, Commander. The Federation doesn't forgive defiance." Before Ward could respond, Krektal pressed a hidden switch. The entire ship began to tremble. "Self-destruct sequence initiated," Quinn warned from her scanner. "Damn it!" Ward growled. "Fall back to the Aegis, now!" As they retreated, Ward noticed a glowing data terminal. Ignoring Quinn's protests, he accessed it and downloaded the cruiser's logs onto a portable drive. The information could prove invaluable, but it cost them precious seconds. The team barely made it back to the Aegis before the cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash, rocking the destroyer violently. "Report!" Ward barked as he stumbled back onto the bridge. "Shields held, but just barely," Cole said. Ward inserted the data drive into the ship's system. The logs revealed detailed plans of the Federation's strategy for Earth, the exploitation of its resources, the dismantling of its defenses, and, chillingly, plans for population control. Ward's jaw tightened. "They're not just integrating us, they're enslaving us." Kale's voice came through again, this time quieter. "What have you found, Ward?" "Proof," Ward said grimly. "The Federation isn't our ally, they're our enemy." He turned to his crew, his resolve hardening. "This changes everything. Prepare for a full broadcast to Earth. The people need to know the truth." As the Aegis began its return to Earth, Ward knew there was no turning back. The Federation would come for them now, but humanity wouldn't bow. The war had begun, and Earth would fight to the bitter end. The Aegis descended into Earth's atmosphere like a dagger returning to its sheath. Commander Ward stood on the bridge, his jaw clenched as the ship streaked toward Orbital Defense Command's landing pad. The stolen Federation data pulsed ominously on the terminal in front of him, a grim testament to the Federation's plans. "ETA to landing, Lieutenant," Ward asked. 2 minutes, sir," Cole replied. "Orbital Command is rolling out a welcome party." Ward's comm buzzed, and General Kale's familiar voice came through. "Ward, the Council's calling an emergency session. Whatever you found, you better make it convincing. This could go sideways fast." "It's not a matter of if, General. It already has," Ward replied. Ward entered the council chamber, flanked by Kale and Ambassador Helena Trask. The room was packed with Earth's political and military leaders, all of them buzzing with tension. At the head of the chamber, President Nathaniel Drake sat, his expression a mix of exhaustion and skepticism. "Commander Ward," Drake began, his voice steady but sharp. "You've stirred up quite the storm, disabling a Federation vessel, initiating combat. Do you realize the risk you've placed Earth under?" "I didn't start this, Mr. President," Ward said, stepping forward. "But I intend to finish it." He handed the data drive to a technician, who projected its contents onto the central display. The room fell silent as the Federation's plans unfolded. Resource extraction, military disarmament, and, most chillingly, population control protocols for non-compliant species. "This," Ward said, his voice cutting through the silence, "is what the Federation considers integration. They're not allies. They're conquerors." The chamber erupted into a cacophony of voices. Helena tried to interject, her diplomatic instincts kicking in. We need to consider all angles. If we respond aggressively, we risk provoking them further. They've already provoked us, Ward shot back. The cruiser near Luna Base wasn't a coincidence. They were scouting our defenses, testing our resolve. Drake raised a hand, silencing the room. And what do you propose, Commander? Open war, against a force that outmatches us on every front? Ward's gaze hardened. We don't need to match them. We need to outthink them. Guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run strikes, make Earth too costly to conquer. Kyle nodded. He's right. The Federation operates like an empire. They're efficient, but inflexible. If we disrupt their supply chains, target their key assets, we can level the playing field. Helena frowned. And what about diplomacy? If we escalate, we lose any chance of a peaceful resolution. There is no peace with an enemy that sees you as property, Ward said, his voice firm. The only thing they respect is strength. Drake leaned back, his expression unreadable. We're not deciding this lightly, Commander. But if we fight, you'll be leading the charge. Are you prepared for the cost? Ward's voice softened, but his resolve remained unshaken. If we don't fight, the cost will be our freedom. Before the council could deliberate further, alarms blared across the chamber. Kale tapped her comm. What's going on? Multiple Federation ships inbound, came the voice of a panicked officer. They've bypassed Luna Base and are entering Earth's atmosphere. The room erupted into chaos. Drake stood, his expression grim. They're forcing our hand. Ward turned to Kyle. We need to intercept them before they reach the surface. I'll take the Aegis. We'll hold them off as long as we can. I'll scramble the orbital defense fleet, Kale replied. But Ward, this isn't going to be a skirmish. They're here to make an example of us. Then we'll make an example of them, Ward said. The Aegis launched into the atmosphere as Earth's orbital defenses came online. Federation ships descended like predatory birds, their sleek hulls glinting in the sunlight. Enemy ships locking weapons, Cole reported. Target the lead ship. Hit them hard and fast, Ward ordered. The Aegis unleashed a barrage of missiles, one striking the lead Federation frigate and sending it spiraling out of control. The rest of the Federation fleet retaliated, beams of searing energy ripping through Earth's defenses. Shields at 60%, Quinn shouted. Keep firing, Ward barked. We can't let them break through. The battle raged across the sky, the Aegis weaving through the chaos. Federation ships were more advanced, but Earth's defenders fought with ferocity born of desperation. As the Aegis landed a crippling blow on another frigate, Cole shouted, Commander, they've launched ground forces! Ward's stomach sank. They're dividing us. Quinn, patch me through to orbital command. Kyle's voice came through, static-filled but steady. Ward, we're holding them off up here, but their ground forces are heading for critical infrastructure. They're targeting our command network. Ward's mind raced. Then we cut their legs out from under them. Deploy the strike teams. If we take out their forward command post, the rest will crumble. Kyle hesitated. That's a hell of a gamble. Earth's survival depends on it, Ward replied. As Ward coordinated the counterattack, a transmission came through on a secure channel. It was Helena. Elias, we need to talk, she said, her voice uncharacteristically strained. Make it quick, Ward said, his attention still on the battle. I've been contacted by Solanis, Helena admitted. The Federation's offering terms. If we stand down, they'll spare the civilian population. Ward froze. Terms! They're bombing our cities, Helena! I know, she said, her voice breaking. But if we keep fighting, they'll destroy everything. We can't win this. You're suggesting we surrender? Ward asked, disbelief tinged with fury. I'm suggesting we save lives, Helena replied. Ward clenched his fists, his mind a storm of conflicting thoughts. Could they fight against impossible odds, or was Helena's path the only way to survive? The comm crackled again. This time, Kale's voice. Ward, we've got a chance to cripple their fleet, but we'll need to risk everything. What's the call? Ward stood at the precipice of a decision that would shape humanity's future. To fight, to surrender, or to gamble on a high-stakes attack that could either turn the tide or seal Earth's fate. Prepare for the strike, Ward finally said. No surrender, not today. As the Aegis surged forward into the heart of the battle, Ward knew there was no turning back. The war had truly begun. The Aegis was a maelstrom of activity as it plunged back into the fray. The battle for Earth's survival had escalated to a fever pitch. Fires dotted the planet's surface, visible from orbit. Federation dropships streaked through the atmosphere, unloading waves of alien troops onto Earth's soil. Humanity was on the brink, and Commander Ward was determined not to let it fall. We've pinpointed their forward command post, Quinn reported, her fingers flying over her console. They're using a captured mining complex outside New Johannesburg as their operational hub. Perfect, Ward said grimly. That'll be their Achilles heel. Kale's voice came through the comm. Ward, I hope you know what you're doing. If this gambit fails, we'll lose the chance to regroup. We don't have time to regroup, Ward snapped. If we don't take out that command post now, they'll consolidate their position and grind us down. Kale hesitated, then relented. All right, I'll divert forces to support your strike team. But Ward, make it count. Ward turned to his crew. Prepare for atmospheric entry. Tactical, get me a strike team. We hit the ground running. Cole looked up from his station, a shadow of doubt in his eyes. You think it'll work, Commander? Ward locked eyes with him. We don't have a choice, Lieutenant. The Aegis screamed through the sky, its heat shields glowing red-hot as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Enemy fighters darted after them, their weapons hammering the ship's shields. Evasive maneuvers! Ward ordered, gripping the edge of his console as the ship bucked violently. We're not shaking them! Cole yelled. Ward's mind raced. Deploy countermeasures. Focus everything on keeping us alive until we're within range of the complex. Quinn triggered a barrage of flares and chaff. For a moment, the pursuing fighters hesitated, allowing the Aegis to dive low and fast toward the target. We're over the LZ! Cole shouted. Bring us in, Ward commanded. The ship landed hard, skidding across the cracked ground before coming to a halt. The ramp dropped, and Ward led the strike team into the chaos. The alien command post loomed in the distance, a hive of activity surrounded by automated turrets and shield generators. Ward signaled to his team. Split into squads. Disable those turrets first, or we won't make it 20 feet. Cole, you're with me. Quinn, coordinate air support and keep our extraction route clear. The ground was a cacophony of explosions and weapons fire. The Federation's soldiers, towering and armored, moved with brutal efficiency. Humanity's forces fought back with raw determination, using the terrain and their ingenuity to compensate for their technological disadvantage. Ward and Cole sprinted toward the nearest turret emplacement, ducking behind debris as enemy fire peppered the ground around them. Cover me! Ward shouted, pulling out a charge. Cole popped up from cover, laying down suppressive fire as Ward dashed to the turret's base. He slapped the charge against its control panel and dove back just as it detonated, sending the turret up in a plume of fire. "That's one down!" Ward called. "Two more to go," Cole replied. As they moved to the next target, Ward's comm buzzed. It was Quinn. "Commander, we've intercepted a transmission from the Federation. They've ordered reinforcements to fall back to the command post. They know we're here." Ward's stomach twisted. "How long do we have?" "Minutes," Quinn replied. "Then we finish this now," Ward growled. The team reached the final turret, only to find a Federation officer waiting for them. It was Krektal, his cybernetic implants glowing faintly in the smoke-filled air. "I told you, Commander," Krektal said, his voice smooth and taunting. "You cannot win this war." Ward raised his rifle. "We'll see about that." Before he could fire, Krektal gestured, and hidden energy fields snapped to life, pinning Ward and Cole in place. "Did you really think we wouldn't anticipate your little rebellion?" Krektal sneered. "Humanity's defiance is an amusing but doomed spectacle." Cole struggled against the energy field, fury etched on his face. "You'll regret underestimating us, you bastard." Krektal's grin widened. "Underestimating you? On the contrary, I'm here because I respect your tenacity, but tenacity alone isn't enough." Ward's mind raced. This wasn't just an ambush, it was a trap. The Federation had let them get this far to send a message. Resistance was futile. Through gritted teeth, Ward spoke. "If you're so confident, why are you talking instead of finishing us?" Krektal's expression flickered, just for a moment, with doubt. It was all Ward needed. Summoning every ounce of strength, he reached for a hidden blade on his wrist, cutting through the energy field's restraint. He lunged at Krektal, slamming the alien into the turret's console. "Cole, now!" Ward shouted. Cole activated another charge, planting it on the turret. The two humans scrambled for cover as the explosion ripped through the emplacement, taking Krektal with it. With the turrets down, Earth's forces surged forward, overwhelming the command post. But Ward knew this victory was temporary. Quinn's voice came through the comm. "Commander, enemy reinforcements inbound. We need to extract now." Ward took a last look at the burning command post before giving the order. "Fall back. This fight isn't over." As the team boarded the Aegis, Ward felt the weight of the battle settle on his shoulders. They had struck a blow, but the cost was mounting, and the Federation's full fury was yet to come. The Aegis climbed back into the smoke-filled sky, its hull scarred from the battle. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Ward leaned against the railing of the command deck, his knuckles white as he gripped the edge. The temporary victory felt hollow. "Status report," he barked. Quinn scanned her console. "Command post neutralized. Ground teams are retreating under heavy fire. Enemy reinforcements are converging on their location. Casualties are high." Ward closed his eyes for a moment, the weight of every decision pressing against his chest. "What about Federation fleet movements?" Cole looked up from the tactical station. "Their main fleet's repositioning, Commander. Looks like they're preparing a full-scale orbital bombardment." The words hit like a punch to the gut. Earth couldn't survive such an assault. "We've poked the bear," Ward muttered. "Now it's coming for us." Kyle's voice came through the comm, sharp and authoritative. "Ward, we're running out of time. If the Federation's fleet reaches firing range, it's over. Do you have a plan, or are we just waiting to die?" Ward's gaze hardened. We'd take out their flagship, cut off the head, and the body will falter. Kyle scoffed. Their flagship is a dreadnought, Ward. It's got shielding that could shrug off our entire fleet's firepower. Not if we're inside it, Ward said. The silence on the line was deafening. Kyle finally spoke. You're suggesting boarding a Federation dreadnought? You'll be flying straight into the teeth of their defenses. It's the only way, Ward replied. We breach their flagship, disable their command systems, and buy Earth enough time to regroup. Or die trying, Kyle said grimly. Ward straightened. We're already dead if we do nothing. Kyle sighed. Fine. I'll coordinate a diversionary attack to draw their fleet's attention. But Ward, don't make this sacrifice for nothing. The Aegis raced toward the Federation fleet, flanked by a handful of battered Earth ships. Explosions lit up the void as Earth's forces engaged the enemy, creating chaos to mask the Aegis's approach. Enemy ships closing in, Cole shouted. Keep us on course, Ward ordered. Quinn, status on the dreadnought's shields. They're fully active, she replied. We'll need to breach them at close range. Then we'll give them a target they can't ignore, Ward said. The Aegis darted through the firestorm, dodging enemy fighters and turbo-laser blasts. It was a dangerous dance, each maneuver bringing them closer to the behemoth at the heart of the Federation fleet. We're in range, Quinn called out. Fire the disruptor cannon, Ward commanded. The Aegis's main weapon discharged, a brilliant arc of energy slamming into the dreadnought's shields. The impact disrupted the field just long enough for the ship to punch through. We're through, Cole shouted. Brace for impact, Ward yelled. The Aegis crashed into the dreadnought's hull, its landing claws anchoring the ship in place. The hull groaned as it buckled under the force, creating an entry point for the strike team. Ward led the team into the dreadnought's interior. The halls were sterile and cold, lit by the eerie glow of alien energy conduits. The air thrummed with the sound of distant machinery. Stay sharp, Ward said. The bridge is 2 levels up. Move fast and quiet. They encountered resistance almost immediately. Federation soldiers poured into the corridors, their plasma weapons lighting up the dim passageways. Cover fire! Ward shouted, returning fire as the team pressed forward. Grenades detonated, sending bodies and debris flying. The humans fought with relentless determination, every step a hard-fought victory. We're pinned down! Cole shouted, his back pressed against a bulkhead. Ward scanned the area and spotted an auxiliary vent. Through there! The team crawled through the vent, emerging in a maintenance shaft that led directly to the bridge. Quinn, status on the fleet? Ward asked over comms. Not good, she replied. Our diversionary forces are falling apart. You need to hurry. The team burst onto the bridge, weapons blazing. The Federation officers inside scrambled for cover, returning fire as alarms blared. At the center of the chaos stood an imposing figure, Admiral Solanus. His presence was almost palpable, his cybernetic enhancements glowing with power. Humans, Solanus sneered. You've made it farther than I expected, but this is where your defiance ends. Ward leveled his rifle. Not today. The firefight was brutal. Solanus moved with unnatural speed, his plasma blade cutting through the air. One by one, members of Ward's team fell, but they pressed on, driven by sheer resolve. Ward finally managed to corner Solanus near the central console. Deactivate the bombardment protocols, or I'll end this right now. Solanus laughed. You don't have the strength to stop me. Before Ward could react, Solanus lunged, his blade slicing across Ward's side. Ignoring the pain, Ward tackled the Admiral, slamming him into the console. Cole! Ward shouted. Override their systems! Cole, wounded but alive, limped to the console and began typing furiously. I need 30 seconds! You've got 10! Ward growled, grappling with Solanus. The fight was vicious, but Ward finally managed to plunge a combat knife into Solanus's chest. The Admiral's expression froze in shock before he collapsed. Done! Cole shouted. The ship's systems went dark, and the bombardment fleet powered down. Ward staggered, clutching his wound. Get back to the Aegis. Now! Cole hesitated. Not without you. That's an order, Ward said, his voice weak but firm. Cole nodded reluctantly, helping the remaining team retreat. Ward stayed behind, setting the Dreadnought's reactor to overload. As the team escaped, Ward looked out at the chaos of the battle. A faint smile crossed his lips. For Earth, he whispered, before the ship erupted in a blinding explosion. The Aegis escaped the blast just in time, the crew silent as they mourned their fallen commander. But they knew his sacrifice had given humanity a fighting chance. The Aegis climbed back into the smoke-filled sky, its hull scarred from the battle. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Ward leaned against the railing of the command deck, his knuckles white as he gripped the edge. The temporary victory felt hollow. Status report! He barked. Quinn scanned her console. Command post neutralized. Ground teams are retreating under heavy fire. Enemy reinforcements are converging on their location. Casualties are high. Ward closed his eyes for a moment, the weight of every decision pressing against his chest. What about Federation fleet movements? Cole looked up from the tactical station. Their main fleet's repositioning, Commander. Looks like they're preparing a full-scale orbital bombardment. The words hit like a punch to the gut. Earth couldn't survive such an assault. We've poked the bear, Ward muttered. Now it's coming for us. Cale's voice came through the comm, sharp and authoritative. Ward, we're running out of time. If the Federation's fleet reaches firing range, it's over. Do you have a plan, or are we just waiting to die? Ward's gaze hardened. We take out their flagship, cut off the head, and the body will falter. Kyle scoffed. Their flagship is a dreadnought, Ward. It's got shielding that could shrug off our entire fleet's firepower. Not if we're inside it, Ward said. The silence on the line was deafening. Kale finally spoke. You're suggesting boarding a Federation dreadnought? You'll be flying straight into the teeth of their defenses. It's the only way, Ward replied. We breach their flagship, disable their command systems, and buy Earth enough time to regroup. Or die trying, Kyle said grimly. Ward straightened. We're already dead if we do nothing. Kyle sighed. Fine, I'll coordinate a diversionary attack to draw their fleet's attention. But Ward, don't make this sacrifice for nothing. The Aegis raced toward the Federation fleet, flanked by a handful of battered Earth ships. Explosions lit up the void as Earth's forces engaged the enemy, creating chaos to mask the Aegis's approach. Enemy ships closing in, Cole shouted. Keep us on course, Ward ordered. Quinn, status on the Dreadnought's shields. They're fully active, she replied. We'll need to breach them at close range. Then we'll give them a target they can't ignore, Ward said. The Aegis darted through the firestorm, dodging enemy fighters and turbo laser blasts. It was a dangerous dance, each maneuver bringing them closer to the behemoth at the heart of the Federation fleet. "We're in range!" Quinn called out. "Fire the disruptor cannon," Ward commanded. The Aegis's main weapon discharged, a brilliant arc of energy slamming into the dreadnought's shields. The impact disrupted the field just long enough for the ship to punch through. "We're through!" Cole shouted. "Brace for impact!" Ward yelled. The Aegis crashed into the dreadnought's hull, its landing claws anchoring the ship in place. The hull groaned as it buckled under the force, creating an entry point for the strike team. Ward led the team into the dreadnought's interior. The halls were sterile and cold, lit by the eerie glow of alien energy conduits. The air thrummed with the sound of distant machinery. "Stay sharp," Ward said. "The bridge is 2 levels up. Move fast and quiet." They encountered resistance almost immediately. Federation soldiers poured into the corridors, their plasma weapons lighting up the dim passageways. "Cover fire!" Ward shouted, returning fire as the team pressed forward. Grenades detonated, sending bodies and debris flying. The humans fought with relentless determination. Every step a hard-fought victory. "We're pinned down!" Cole shouted, his back pressed against a bulkhead. Ward scanned the area and spotted an auxiliary vent. "Through there!" The team crawled through the vent, emerging in a maintenance shaft that led directly to the bridge. "Quinn, status on the fleet?" Ward asked over comms. "Not good," she replied. "Our diversionary forces are falling apart. You need to hurry." The team burst onto the bridge, weapons blazing. The Federation officers inside scrambled for cover, returning fire as alarms blared. At the center of the chaos stood an imposing figure, Admiral Solanas. His presence was almost palpable, his cybernetic enhancements glowing with power. "Humans," Solanas sneered. "You've made it farther than I expected, but this is where your defiance ends." Ward leveled his rifle. "Not today." The firefight was brutal. Solanas moved with unnatural speed, his plasma blade cutting through the air. One by one, members of Ward's team fell, but they pressed on, driven by sheer resolve. Ward finally managed to corner Solanas near the central console. "Deactivate the bombardment protocols, or I'll end this right now." Solanas laughed. "You don't have the strength to stop me." Before Ward could react, Solanas lunged, his blade slicing across Ward's side. Ignoring the pain, Ward tackled the Admiral, slamming him into the console. "Cole!" Ward shouted. "Override their systems!" Cole, wounded but alive, limped to the console and began typing furiously. "I need 30 seconds!" "You've got 10!" Ward growled, grappling with Solanas. The fight was vicious, but Ward finally managed to plunge a combat knife into Solanas' chest. The Admiral's expression froze in shock before he collapsed. "Done!" Cole shouted. The ship's systems went dark, and the bombardment fleet powered down. Ward staggered, clutching his wound. "Get back to the Aegis, now!" Cole hesitated. "Not without you." "That's an order," Ward said, his voice weak but firm. Cole nodded reluctantly, helping the remaining team retreat. Ward stayed behind, setting the dreadnought's reactor to overload. As the team escaped, Ward looked out at the chaos of the battle. A faint smile crossed his lips. "For Earth," he whispered, before the ship erupted in a blinding explosion. The Aegis escaped the blast just in time, the crew silent as they mourned their fallen commander. But they knew his sacrifice had given humanity a fighting chance. The Aegis was a battered specter, limping through the void, its hull scorched and its systems failing. Inside, The atmosphere was one of grim determination. Quinn and Cole stood on the bridge, watching the Federation fleet reassemble for their final strike. Earth hung behind them, a fragile blue jewel in the abyss. Quinn wiped blood from her brow, her fingers trembling over the console. Core overload in progress. Estimated detonation. 5 minutes. Cole glanced at her, his voice tight. You're sure this will work? We're staking everything on one desperate move. It has to work, she replied, her eyes locked on the tactical display. If we don't stop them here, Earth doesn't get another chance. A voice crackled over the comm, breaking the tension. Aegis, this is General Osric. We've rallied what's left of the fleet. We're ready to engage. Quinn activated the comm. General, we're going for a core detonation. When it blows, it'll take their flagship and most of their fleet. You need to fall back to Earth's defensive perimeter. Osric's tone was resolute. Negative, Aegis. If we pull back now, they'll intercept you before you reach detonation range. We'll hold them off as long as we can. Cole clenched his fists. They're sacrificing themselves so we can finish this. Quinn's voice wavered. General, thank you. Osric chuckled grimly. Save your thanks for when this is over. Give them hell, Aegis. Osric out. Earth's remaining fleet surged forward, intercepting the Federation's warships in a chaotic clash. Explosions lit up the void as humanity's outnumbered forces fought with desperate ferocity. On the Aegis, Quinn and Cole braced as enemy fire rattled the ship. We're losing shielding! A crew member shouted. Divert all remaining power to engines, Quinn ordered. We need to get into the heart of their fleet. Cole stepped to her side, gripping his rifle. You realize we're not making it out of this alive, right? She gave him a faint smile. I stopped thinking about survival hours ago. This isn't about us. The ship shuddered as another blast hit its hull. Enemy fighters swarmed them, peppering the Aegis with relentless fire. Quinn turned to the crew. All hands, abandon ship. That's an order. Cole's head snapped toward her. What? You can't seriously be staying. If the Aegis doesn't reach the flagship, this is all for nothing, she said firmly. We'll pilot it the rest of the way. You mean you'll pilot it? Cole countered, stepping closer. You're not doing this alone. She stared at him, then nodded. Fine. Together then. As the crew evacuated, Quinn and Cole took the helm. The Federation's flagship loomed ahead, its massive cannons swiveling to target the Aegis. Evasive maneuvers, Quinn said, her hands flying over the controls. Cole activated the ship's remaining weapons, firing at anything that moved. They're throwing everything at us! Just hold them off, Quinn replied. We're almost there. The ship's systems screamed warnings, critical damage, failing power, oxygen levels dropping. Still, they pressed on, weaving through the chaos. The Federation flagship opened fire, its massive turbolasers carving through space. One beam clipped the Aegis, sending it spiraling. Engines are gone! Cole shouted. We're close enough! Quinn yelled back. Prepare for manual detonation! As Quinn activated the core detonation sequence, an unexpected signal crackled over their comms. This is Osric. We're still in the fight. Just bought you some breathing room. Quinn's eyes widened. General? How? Turns out we had some allies we didn't know about, Osric said, his voice filled with unexpected hope. A new fleet burst into the battlefield, ships unlike any seen before. Sleek and angular, they tore through the Federation forces with surgical precision. It's the Arcanus Confederation, Cole said in disbelief. They joined us. Quinn's chest tightened with emotion. Ward's message. It reached them. He convinced them to fight. The Aegis surged forward one last time, slamming into the side of the Federation flagship. Detonating in 10 seconds, Quinn said, her voice steady despite the chaos. Do it, Cole said, a faint smile on his face. The core detonated, unleashing a blinding wave of energy that consumed the Federation flagship and the surrounding fleet. The battlefield went silent, save for the cheers of humanity's surviving forces. Hours later, Earth's battered fleet regrouped. The Arcanus Confederation's ships orbited alongside them, their arrival turning the tide. Quinn and Cole were hailed as heroes, their sacrifice immortalized. Ward's name was spoken with reverence, his gamble having united humanity and its newfound allies. In the war room, General Osric addressed the survivors. Today, we've done more than survive. We've shown the galaxy that humanity doesn't kneel. We rise. Cheers erupted as the dawn of a new era began. Humanity had paid a terrible price, but they had won their freedom. Now, they would rebuild, not as victims, but as warriors,